Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing Drawback chess, where each player is assigned a random drawback, like Cowardly, where if your opponent captures, you must move backwards, or Warlord, where your king has to be off the first two ranks. I recently got completely brutalized playing Drawback chess against fellow chess YouTuber Viper King, and even put on a wall of shame. So today I'm not going to stop playing Drawback chess until I have 10 victories under my belt. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we do get the white pieces, and I have changed the time control to 1+2, meaning 1 second base time. You get 2 seconds back for every move that you make, because I'm curious to see how much that will change the course of the game. Our drawback is Superstitious. You can't move to a square that your opponent has captured on. So I guess for the most part, we should avoid captures in general, and we should definitely avoid captures near the king, because I feel like that would make it very difficult to actually deliver checkmate. The other thing that we have to do is slowly try and suss out what our opponent's drawback might be. Okay, they castle kingside. I know what I said about avoiding captures near the king, but I'm definitely going to go for a kingside attack if they are going to try and castle before I castle. We'll go ahead and pin the knight as well. H5, H6 is incoming. The cool thing is that our specific drawback, I don't think... Oh, I was going to say I don't think really changes the course of the game, but should they take here, I guess I can't take back, because f3 would then be a square that the opponent has captured on. Oh, so I've completely eaten my words there. Okay, but luckily they move the king over, so I'll slide back to h2. Okay, so wait, does that drawback mean that I can like literally never recapture a piece? That's pretty horrendous. That means I have to initiate every capture. Now, luckily the opponent, I think, has forgotten that they can't take back because I am threatening the queen by pinning this knight. And that seems to be sending them into time trouble as well. But okay, it could have been either one of us. Oh, I can't even take back because the knight takes on c2. Okay, so c2 is now a square that the opponent has captured on, which means I can never capture there or move there in general. We'll move the king to d1. I'm assuming the knight, or rather the rook, is toast, but it's not. Okay, we'll take on f6, put the opponent's king in check. No idea why they would play king to g8. Okay, now I'm infinitely curious what on earth the opponent's drawback could possibly be. They retreat their knight, not realizing they can just take my bishop. We'll move the bishop back to e3. We're pretty up on time, and the kingside attack seems to be going pretty swimmingly so far, minus this little kerfuffle on c2. They're down to 10 seconds. I'm going to work extra hard to keep the time pressure on them, so how do I do that? I can't really sacrifice here, even though I'm very tempted to, because should the opponent take back, the queen can't actually follow suit. So the question is what to do. I guess we'll target the queen. Yeah, and it's very hard to initiate trades of any kind. I guess I can take the knight, which frees up the f3 square, which means I can now target f7. And as long as I'm the one making the first trade, everything should still be favorable. It's funny too, because the opponent could go on a rampage of just taking all of my pieces, and I would literally never be able to take back. But that's literally half of the point of drawback chess. I'm going to sack the knight, because that's different from sacking a piece on the square that I want to recapture on. Should the opponent take, I do have queen takes h6. But I'll take a free queen anyways as well. We'll just move the knight back. I'm still kind of hoping they take because queen to h6 is devastating for the opponent. We'll take on c7, keeping that time pressure on them as best as I can. And at this point, it doesn't really matter specifically what I do. We're munching their position alive. We'll go ahead and, I guess, move the knight back. It's funny, they could just start taking anything they please, and there's literally nothing that I would be able to do, but they move their king into danger, which I will take, and with that, we do win game number 1. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Alright, you won, you took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was Hedonic Treadmill. You must move a piece at least as valuable as your opponent's last move piece. Oh, interesting. I guess that was a pattern that I could have seen, but honestly, was not on my radar. Also, for those of you that know that I am basically incapable of counting over 3, I do have a sticky note in front of me, so I will be able to keep track of exactly when I have 10 wins. With that, we have 1 victory under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 2. Alright, game number 2, we get the white pieces again. I will play e4, even though I momentarily saw that that square was highlighted yellow, which I assume has to do with our drawback, Helicopter Parent. Wait, did we already lose? Okay, our drawback was you lose if you have an undefended pawn. Oh no! That's the only thing about playing Bullet in Drawback is that I probably should take a moment to read my drawback. But even when I play Blitz, I usually spam the first move right away because it usually doesn't lead to a crushing defeat like that, but let's pop up the info board. All right, at least we have the consolation prize that our drawback was significantly harder than the opponent's, but we instantly lost in one move. All right, with that, we lose game number 2. Let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we get the black pieces. Our drawback is Bottled Lightning. If you can move your king, you must. Okay, so these pieces are definitely going to hang back for a second. We get E4 first, and I guess I should make a priority of developing like a beginner and getting my pieces out to the center from the sides of the board. Because if I move my king out, or if I ever rather move one of these pieces and create an escape route for my king, I will basically infinitely have to move my king. So big picture stuff here, I'm basically going to try and move as quickly as feasibly possible. I'm going to try and cause my opponent problems by making captures or giving checks as frequently as I can, and then I'm just never going to move any of these pieces basically. We'll start developing our rooks on the sides of the board. Get bishop to b5, we'll play c6. Get that bishop out of here, we'll go ahead and take it for free. I'm very curious what their drawback is, because ours is horrendous. It literally petrifies this entire part of the board. For example, should they ever capture, I'd literally have to take back with the king. Let's play rook to e6 and see if we can boot the knight. Oh, they do take, which means I do have to move my king, and now that my king has escaped the quote-unquote bottle, this lightning must run. Okay, we'll play king g6, might as well. I mean, I could spend the entire rest of the game hanging out, playing back and forth. That seems rather tragic. Actually, they are down under 20 seconds, so there is a chance that I could move back, spam back and forth, and eventually somehow win the game. I might do it on h8 and h7 though, because f7 and e8 just seem inherently more scary. All right, we get queen to d3. They're definitely going for the attack. We'll move the king back into the corner. The problem is, for all of these moves, we are technically able to move the king, so I basically have to hope that they time out before I get checkmated. They are down to a second. Oh, we'll move back again. 2 seconds, 1 second, come on. They take, I can't move my king, so I have to. Oh, they promote to a queen, please. Don't move in 3 seconds. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I can't do anything but move my king. Nice, and with that, they do luckily time out, giving us our second victory. Let's go and pop up the info board. All right, you won because your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was guerrilla tactics. After playing a capturing move, you must return the capturing piece to its previous location if possible. Yeah, our drawback was substantially more difficult than theirs, but luckily because of the time control, we did manage to finesse the victory. With that, we have 2 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 3. But first, I recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers easy step-by-step opening lessons. Drill your opening to climb to the top of the leaderboard, or do puzzles that come from real games. Like this puzzle where I can click back to see how we got to this Jobava London position, before delivering this nasty fork. For just $3 a month, you can keep doing puzzles to increase your opening elo and then take that practice into a real game, like I did to crush my opponent with the Jobava London. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. I just realized I said game number 3, but I guess I meant game number 4. Our drawback this time is friendly fire. You can only move to squares defended by your other pieces, so this is going to be a criminally slow game, but as long as everybody is defended multiple times, so should we ever get captured, we can take back because that square is defended by another piece, thereby satisfying our drawback. As long as those requirements are met, we should be totally fine. We might even get a time advantage from the get-go because ours is pretty straightforward. It's basically just make sure everybody's defended as much as feasibly possible. I'll even move the queen back, actually, and just keep everything very close to the chest. Right, knight to c6, sure. Just keep developing, and hopefully the opponent doesn't have time to reason through their drawback. By the time we're done developing, make sure everybody's defended twice. If this bishop were not here and they were to take, I wouldn't be able to take back because that square wouldn't be defended again. We do get the knight backwards. Oh, and I can't take on g7 because it's not defended multiple times. Interesting. I think they're delaying castling too. Despite their speed, we do still have the time advantage, and I will definitely throw this pawn into the abyss. We do get f5, and I am going to castle queenside. This is going to make the game way more dynamic. We have both of these bishops looking at the king's position. We have this pawn creeping forward. We have a knight ready to jump in. We have hopefully a open file in the making. We do trade off one of the pairs of bishops. The queen is targeted, but I am defended on g7. The thing is, I can't really... Oh, that's a free queen! Oh, that's so bad! I was going to say I can't actually take because the king takes back, and bishop g7 wouldn't be possible since it wouldn't be defended. Oh, but that doesn't matter at all now that my queen is gone. Okay, now we have to throw pieces in their face. Right, they do take. I can't even take back. Oh my goodness, this has gone to smithereens so quickly. Right, rook takes. We'll go ahead and play... Oh, I could have taken the knight, but you know what? At this point, if we're going to be down a queen, we might as well try to go for the victory right away. Right, they play g6. Okay, now I'll take a moment to take back. There is still hope. This is drawback chess. They do have 22 seconds, and their advantage is a queen for a rook. So maybe if their drawback is sufficiently terrible, we might still have a fighting chance. f2 is toast. They don't take it, so we'll advance that pawn. The thing is, everything has to be defended twice, or else I literally cannot take back. For example, should the queen take, I don't even think I can take back there, because that square wouldn't be defended twice. So everything has to move basically at a snail's pace, which is pretty horrendous. Right, we'll advance the king, and when you have a pair of rooks that want to work on these long open files and maybe grab these nice outposts, it's going to be very difficult to justify having this few number of pieces with this specific kind of drawback. We'll give check, maybe make some waiting moves. f3 is probably toast as well. I have a funny feeling their drawback is not as severe as ours, that they don't take, so we will advance. And very slowly, but hopefully surely, I have to make progress towards that king. The question is, how exactly do I go about that? Or maybe I don't. Maybe I just have to hang back for 13 seconds. Right, we'll move the king over. I mean, eventually I'd love to make my way over there. The funny thing is the queen can always post herself up right next to my king. Like, for example, queen takes f3, I can't take back because that square is not defended by another piece. But the opponent does not know this. If they move back and forth, I'd be surprised. Okay, they might actually be thinking about trying for a draw here, which would be very amusing. We'll move the king over. Right, they attack again. We'll come back and play defense. I have no problem with running the king around, and all of these squares are defended by the rooks. So the king does have the option to make his way around. We'll see if they try and go for this promotion idea. We'll move back. Hopefully they think that's protected. Oh, but I guess the queen covers that square anyways. Now, luckily they do only have 3 seconds on the clock. I have a funny feeling we'll be able to flag them. We'll move the king up. I pre-moved king to d2. Very nice. Pre-move, pre-move, pre-move. Just pre-move everything until they flag. King to d2. Everything is pre-move here. There's really no chess involved at this point. This is basically just pre-moving heaven. Hello, king to d2, thank you. Oh, we've put the king in danger! Ah, but the opponent doesn't take it! What on earth could their drawback possibly be that they couldn't take my king? Oh, we advanced the king. Oh, this might be trickier for my opponent than I thought. I mean, rook b3 there is mate. We'll advance the king to e4. And we do win on time. Okay, let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was turn the other cheek. You cannot recapture. Oh, so they could have taken my king. I guess they just didn't have it on the board in time. With that, we do have 3 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to the next game. All right, jumping into the next game, we do have the black pieces with the drawback leveling up. You can't capture a piece until you've captured its predecessor in the list. We have had this drawback before. It's really not the worst thing in the world. You basically have to go for a pawn trade, and then a knight trade, bishop trade, rook trade, queen trade, king trade, or rather, not a king trade perhaps, but checkmate at that point. And that should be pretty straightforward. Shouldn't be all that difficult to get on the board. Right, so we'll play b6, a little bit awkward, but I just don't want to have this recapture and offer a queen trade when I literally cannot take back. So I will be taking back with the b pawn. Right, we'll go ahead and take on d4. We've now captured a pawn. Next up, we need to capture a knight. So I'll play bishop b7, looking for a knight to c6. The knight does move back. I guess I could just take right away. Yeah, might as well. We'll take on f3. I'm considering it because it's a little bit easier to get a bishop trade for another bishop. But considering our drawback does literally prevent us from ever giving checkmate until we've had all the right trades on the board. For example, queen to a8 here is devastating and immediately losing. We do want to get those trades on the board. Right there, bishop takes d7. Had we not made that capture, we would not have been able to take back. But now we've also accomplished a bishop capture. So next up, we need a rook capture and then a queen capture. Because it's very funny, but the opponent could literally just play like king all the way down, and there's literally nothing I could do about it until I've captured all the right pieces. Next up, I need a rook trade. So that means I probably should try and open up a file. I'll probably just sack a pawn and allow them to fight for the open file. And in that fight, we should have a rook trade of some kind. Okay, they don't take, but I will take myself. And one way or another, we're going to get an open file. Ooh, knight to c6. Their drawback might be some species of can/cannot capture as well, because they have not taken back my pawn yet. Okay, rook shuffles over. This is very strange. I'll go ahead and take on b2. So they anticipated this move and played the rook to b1, but for some reason decided they just could not capture back, which is amusing. Okay, let's go knight to e5, get some more trades on the board. Eventually, I do need that rook trade. And I'd imagine simplifying the position will aid me in that idea. Oh, we also have rook to c8 here. Hits the knight with two different pieces, and then rook to c1 is possible. We would be giving up the pawn on b2, but that is, in my opinion, way less important than making sure that we do get that rook trade, and eventually that queen trade as well. I keep saying trade. Technically, I just have to have captured one of those types of pieces. But I'm just assuming that the easiest way to do that will be to offer a fair trade and have the opponent take us up on it. Okay, they have not moved. They have 10 seconds. Oh, goodness, we'll take on d1. Their drawback has to be some species of capture restriction, right? Oh, we can't even take that, though. We have to target the queen first. Otherwise, the opponent is literally just not in danger. Hopefully, they can't move their queen. They've spent a couple of seconds now deciding where to move it and not moving it. So much so that it seems they're about to flag, and with that we do have our 4th victory under our belt. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Alright, you won, your opponent ran out of time, your opponent's drawback was hipster. Can't move the same piece type as your opponent's last move. That doesn't explain anything, I don't think. Because I moved a pawn, and they could have moved literally any piece, and they moved nothing. But with that, we do have 4 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to, I don't know what game this is, game 6? Alright, we do get the black pieces this time, paired against high. Our drawback is truant. You can't move the same piece type twice in a row. Oh no, you can't move the same piece twice in a row. Oh, that's like a total non-issue, isn't it? Unless I'm like very aggressively pursuing the opponent. Oh wait, no, I can't move my queen! Oh, I literally just sat here and said that was a non-issue and now my queen is gone off the board. Well, should have thought about that for 2 extra seconds, and I can't even take back. Wonderful. All right, let's, let's resign, question mark? Oh my goodness, we're so, oh, this is so over already. Okay, we'll try to go for like a hyper-aggressive attack. If that doesn't land, then this is pretty much game over. We will go ahead and take back. I have to play hyper-aggressively and hyper-quickly, and basically hope for the best at this point. Right, let's try and defend that rook by pushing the pawn. I think the opponent has a very good idea of exactly what's going on here, though. We'll move the knight out of the way. Unless I somehow uncover their drawback, like, immediately, this is probably just about game over. Let's try this on for size. We'll defend the pawn on c6. I do have to alternate between pieces. So it makes it a little bit awkward to go for a direct pawn push like this, which will probably get blocked anyways, right? We do get pawn to a3, but I do think that just about anything here is still worth a try. Right, we'll go for c5. Don't even worry about that queen. Okay, the opponent is now under 20 seconds trying to figure out how to deal with this. They decide to just sack the queen for the bishop. Not really sure what their drawback could have been. But somehow we're back in the game because they're under 20 seconds, and even though we are still down material, the queen disparity is no longer the situation that we're dealing with. We'll go here and target the bishop. I mean, the last time that I targeted a piece, I won it outright. So I'm going to go ahead and target another one, and another one. Unless the drawback had specifically to do with the queen, I feel pretty good about this idea of just targeting pieces back to back. We'll go ahead and try and double up the rooks, continue this kingside attack. The opponent seems to be going for the same idea. They do have 6 seconds to figure out exactly what they're going to do with their current piece advantage. They do just sacrifice the bishop. We'll go ahead and take back. I do remember there are some drawbacks that force you to give up. I think it's like a certain amount of material. And that might be the drawback they're dealing with at the moment. moment, but with that, they do run out of time, and we win our 5th game, now halfway through our challenge. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was Religious Dispute. If your opponent moves a bishop, you must move a bishop, or lose. Oh, okay, so I guess they sacked their queen to stop me from taking with my bishop, which would lead them to have to move a bishop, and would lead me to probably just keep taking with my own bishop. That makes a lot of sense. With that, we are halfway through the challenge. Let's go to move on to the next game. All right, in this game, we do get the white pieces against Ethan, and our drawback is Barbarian Rage. If you captured on your last move, you must capture if able. But only if able, not you must capture outright. So it's really not that awful of a drawback. Go ahead and just develop our pieces relatively normally. I do like to play e4. I feel like the more dynamic the game is going to be, like in this case, we're playing the variant of Drawback Chess, and we both only have a minute. The more dynamic the game is going to be, the more aggressive I want to be in the very first couple of moves. We do get bishop to e6. I might actually just take with my bishop, so I can take back with the knight, target the queen, which in Drawback Chess is always, in my head, a good idea. Okay, we do have the ability to capture, so we must. Rook takes back, and we have no more abilities to capture, so no worries either. We'll go ahead and keep developing our pieces. We didn't get any material advantage, but I felt pretty good about that exchange anyways. We get b6, which in my head immediately invites a4. We'll go ahead and tickle this new kingside position. We get knight to d4, keep pushing that pawn. A little bit concerning because if they do take, I do have to take back, and then have to take, and then have to keep taking. But hopefully by undressing the king's position, we're justified in sort of leaning into our drawback there. All right, we do get king forward. If I take and they take back this way, I do have to take on a7, which is not great. So I might castle out of the way first. Right, and they do take, which doesn't mean I have to take. I only have to take if I captured on my last turn. So I'm going to actually give away another free pawn, and maybe go for like an idea on b1 instead. Or maybe if they take, I can take on d4. Pawn takes back. I don't have any other... Oh, wait, I would have rook takes a7. So that doesn't work out. Oh, queen 2, f7. Interesting, they do not take my bait, but I will take on a5. I'm down to 30 seconds, but still even with the opponent, which means on the next turn I do have to take on d4. So I will take. Oh my goodness, they've offered the knight on h5, I think completely unknowingly, but they don't even take back on d4, which doesn't matter somehow because I still have to take a piece, I guess. Oh, does it really matter? I guess I'd rather take on a7. Oh, my drawback is absolutely kicking my butt now, and I do have to keep capturing, so h5 is now toast. Okay, we must, our new drawback is we must checkmate the opponent in the next 20 seconds. Oh, they take on f2, holy moly, I'll take on g6. There's no way they have the same drawback that we do. No, because they would have taken on h5, that wouldn't make any sense. We'll go ahead and take back, surely, okay, they do actually take back now, somehow we're still winning. Very amusing. I have no idea what their drawback could possibly be, but I'm going to have an absolute party taking all of these pawns. I guess eventually I would have to take on d6, which is not the best thing in the world, but maybe they'll take my knight instead. Right, okay, their last drawback had to do with this too, where if there was tension on the board, they had to go for a different capture. And with that, we do win our 6th game. I have no idea what their drawback could have been, but let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won, you took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was hipster. Oh, wait, didn't one of our last opponents have this as well? Oh, that's why they couldn't take back, right? Right? Question mark? I'm not really sure if that explains their moves, but with that, we do have our 6th victory on the board. They might have just misunderstood their drawback, I'm going to be honest. Let's go to move on to the next game. All right, this time we get the white pieces. I'm going to go ahead and just launch e4 onto the board, and our drawback is going the distance. You must move at least as far as your opponent's last move, or lose. Interesting. I have to play this hyper aggressively, I think, because there will definitely eventually be a point where I'm either just moving pieces very far in order to lose them. Must move at least a distance of 2. Does that mean I can't even move bishop b3 because that's only a distance of 1? Yeah, I think I have to play this like hyper aggressively because it's I don't want to be a total doomsday about it, but like it feels like a little bit of a lost cause. Must move at least a distance of 2. Why 2 if they only moved 1? Oh, I guess it's counting this as a distance of 2 like this. Oh, which means on the last turn I could have played bishop to b3. Okay, that's a little bit confusing, but that's one way of counting squares, I guess. Must move at least a distance of 3. Sure, knight to g5, why not? And we are down to 20 seconds. Wow, we instantly lost the game because they played bishop g4, and I literally didn't have any moves on the board that could even go that far, even though my queen was developed. With that, we do lose that game. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, you lost due to your drawback, which was substantially harder than the opponent's. I didn't even get to register what happened. I just got the lost, the you lost pop-up. Your opponent's drawback was Botez Gambit. At the start of turn 11, you must not have a queen, and your opponent must have a queen. Oh my goodness, I could have just given away my queen. Oh, the worst part is I was thinking about developing the queen instead of the bishop to c4 to sack it on f7, but bygones be bygones. Let's go to move on to the next game. All right, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is snipers. Your bishops can only capture from a distance of at least 8, or 4 diagonal squares. Okay, that shouldn't be the end of the world. I'd imagine we're just going to go with a sort of setup where we have double fianchetto on the board. I forgot what this opening is called. I can never remember if it's the cow or the hippo or what it is. But whatever this is, where you have the fianchettos on the outside and you have the knights moving inward. I think this is the hippo. Anyways, we'll go ahead and put these bishops on these long diagonals, since as far as our drawback is concerned, that's pretty much the only place they're going to be able to really be of value to the position. Right, so we'll fianchetto both of our bishops, move the knights towards the center, castle out of the way. Still no weird signs from the opponent. They seem to have done everything pretty normally. We do have a little bit of a time advantage, which I'm hoping to put to good use. Oh, we've definitely played this opponent as well. Hi. Hi again, Hi. I remember you from, I don't know, a couple of games back, maybe? Hi is now down to 30 seconds, and we've done a pretty good job of keeping our minute on the clock. Okay, now the question is exactly what is our plan here? I guess I should start by, I was going to say start by booting that bishop, but I guess we can just recapture it as well. Maybe a kingside attack would be interesting. Again, put those bishops to good use. They're only of any value at a large distance. Or maybe I just trade them off, right? Because if I trade off my bishops, my drawback basically disappears. I'm going to keep the bishop on b7 though, because I do think it can support this attack. Thank you. That is oh, that's a free knight, but I have to take it with the pawn because my bishop is stuck. Okay, I'm going to play bishop a6 next. Oh, I was going to say and pin that knight and try and force it off the board. For some reason, we got a free knight on d5. I have no idea why we got it, but we did. So I'm going to not overthink it and just try to continue to go with the flow here in the position. All right, we've gotten another free piece, I guess in exchange for the knight on e7. So it's not a true free piece in the truest sense of the word, but okay, we'll go ahead and trade off. We are up a piece, so I should be happy about this. The problem is my extra piece is this sort of handicapped bishop that can only capture at distance. So there's not an awful lot to celebrate here. However, if we do trade off the rooks, even though my bishop is handicapped, quote unquote, I do still think it serves, or rather it would give us a huge advantage in this endgame. Right, rook to e3. I guess I should try and develop this bishop, maybe put it on c4. Because the opponent doesn't know that my bishop can't capture unless it's at least 4 squares away. So this looks defended. Right, we get a4. I can't even take that, so I'm just going to quickly shuffle the bishop out of the way and hope they don't figure out exactly why that interaction worked out the way it did. And they don't. They play c3 instead, which does forfeit the open file. Unfortunately, this rook can't really do much with that information because c7 would be hanging, but they are down to 10 seconds, which is wonderful news. We'll just go ahead and advance this king as far into the position as they allow until they realize exactly what we're going for. And they are down to 3 seconds. I don't think there's much they can do here. We're just going to go pawn hunting for a little bit. Nice, and they are down to a second. Sure, we can have a fair trade on the board. We'll pre-move king to d3, target c3, and as soon as these pawns crumble, we'll have some promotions on the board. We'll go ahead and... Wait, king g2? Oh, did I reveal my drawback? Wait, why can't I move anything? Hello? Refresh the page? Oh, there we go. Now I can take. That was a little bit of a heart attack. Go ahead and take on d4. The opponent is super low on time. There's no way they flag. Or rather, there's no way they don't flag, which they do. With that, we have 7 victories under our belt. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, your opponent's drawback was Secret Garden. You have a secret garden in front of your pawns. You can't move onto it, and if your opponent tramples it, you lose. I don't think we ever trampled their secret garden, but we did manage to win on time. With that, we have 7 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to the next game. All right, this next game we do get the white pieces. Of course, I'll throw e4 on the board. And our drawback is Death Wish. If you can move your king into check and you aren't already in check, you must. Okay, so that screams that I'm going to develop these 2 kingside pieces ASAP, shove my king into a corner, and hope for the best. Because as soon as he gets unearthed, I'm basically forced to walk into check, which sounds awful. So I'm going to castle out of the way quickly, and then maybe go for some ticklish ideas near the enemy king instead. Oh, that's a free knight! Oh, that's a free knight. Please let their drawback have to do with not being able to take free knights. Nope, they take it right away. All right, we'll play d4, target the bishop, target the queen. Who knows, maybe bringing up these complications will somehow be advantageous. It'll at least definitely be a time sink, because they've already used up half their time. I think they're going to try and hold on to their extra piece, but they do just have bishop to h3 here. No, instead they move the queen back, so we do get the piece back, and they do recapture. Okay, let's go. Oh, I can't really move these pieces out from in front of my king, or else I'm probably just toast after that. Okay, we'll move the queen to f3 and cover h3. I really just don't want to allow this checkmating idea. Again, if my king gets unearthed, it's pretty much game over. Okay, but it seems like they're about to castle 2. Okay, so we might just both develop sort of normally. We do still have twice as much time as they do. We get knight to d4. Okay, I'll offer a queen trade. I do still think that is okay. We get knight takes on e4. Of course, I'm going to take the queen and then take back. I think we are now up a piece, which is wonderful news, and somehow we've managed to maintain the integrity of the king's defenses. Oh, but there's c4 on the board now as well. King comes to e7, so that is absolutely zero concern. We'll go ahead and try to go for a trade and then target this king. Right, we'll move the knight back, offer another trade. The more trades are on the board, the better, because we are up a piece. So eventually, if we trade off everything equally, the only thing that will be left over will be kings, pawns, and my extra knight. We will put the king in check. The king does move out of the way. We will be persistent. Okay, but the king just moves out of the way again, so I think the king has free reign to escape as much as he pleases. We'll go ahead and try to double up the rooks next. They will either trade off the rooks or allow us to get to the 7th rank. They have 5 seconds left on the board. We do have rook to e7 at our disposal now. We'll go rook to e6, give that check. The king does escape, and we will start taking free pawns. Again, still kind of a concerning position, because if they ever sacrifice and then put me in check, I think I might be toast after that, but that is a free rook, and we do take those. Let's go ahead and take back. Now that the rook is the only really active piece left on the board, I think we're totally fine here. They have 5 seconds to figure this out, and that just seems exceedingly unlikely. Right, we'll take on c7. Might as well start pushing a pawn and get a promotion on the board, since it seems that they are just going to be waiting around, maybe shuffle a king back and forth. So this should be super comfortable for us. Actually, we can take here with check, and that might be mate. Oh, the king moves into danger. We do take the king and win our 8th game. We need 2 more victories. Let's go to and pop up the info board. All right, the opponent's drawback was stop stalling. Your pieces cannot move laterally. Really have no idea where that might have come into play. We have 8 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to the next game. All right, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is relay race. If you can move a piece that's adjacent to the destination of your last move, you must. Okay, I don't think that's the end of the world, right? I'm just going to start developing, and I think the drawback is that, oh, adjacent means adjacent anywhere, not just laterally. I kind of interpreted it as orthogonally adjacent, but I guess adjacent diagonally counts as well. Oh boy, this will be a strange little domino effect. Okay, we'll move this pawn, which means I have to move one of these pieces next. Oh no, because it's where it lands that matters. Ooh, okay, we'll move this piece next, which means I have to move the c pawn. Right, I was kind of hoping they would take so that I could take back and then isolate this pawn, which would free me from the confines of my drawback. They do put me in check. I was just going to say, if they put me in check, there's nothing I can do, is there? Oh, wait, the only adjacent piece is the pawn on d5. So I can move anything now. I'll move this knight, so should they take, the pawn is adjacent and I can take back. But it took me a suspiciously long amount of time to determine that that was a valid move. So they might be onto us and start putting more pressure on our king than I would like. Okay, let's get this bishop out of here. The sooner the better. Right, we will take back. The time situation is also not in our favor, so I do have to move pretty quickly. I'm still hopeful that their drawback might be pretty difficult. Of course, I'm not going to take, right? Takes. Maybe I should have taken. I don't know. Oh, but now I have to move f7. This is pretty bad, which means next I have to move one of these 2 pawns. So I will take back. The problem is I have no idea how one could possibly string together a proper series of moves. The only thing that seems to make any sense is just playing like totally crazy and just going for the opponent's... Ooh, my bad. And just going for the opponent's throat, like, from the get-go. Right, they do take back, of course. We'll put them in check at least. And since this pawn is stuck behind the queen, it literally cannot move, so I should be able to move anything I please. Okay, that's nice. We'll play bishop g4. Again, there's nothing adjacent. I think that's the only way to play this, is you try and develop your pieces in such a way that there is nothing adjacent. But that's so lame. Okay, we'll take on c5. Again, this pawn is stuck behind the bishop, and there are no other adjacent pieces, so I should be free to move whatever I please. Let's do queen to b5. Oh, but then I have to move this pawn. Oh, I was going to say e4 would be quite funny here. Targets the knight, targets the pawn, and then maybe in some universe... Oh, I didn't even see that fork. Well played. Well played, and I have to move one of these pieces anyways. Yeah, let's take on f2. Geez, I'm sure they're going to take my king. Oh! Okay, my king lives to see another day. Interesting. I don't know why they took the queen, but I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to quickly make moves and hope that somehow we fight to see another day. Okay, they are even with us on time. Just move whatever legal moves we have to make. It's not like I have any decisions to make, right? I have to move what I have to move, and it's always going to be one of these adjacent pawns. So if they take that, then I have to push this pawn. If they take that pawn, then I should probably try to develop, which means I have to push this pawn next. Right, we'll push. Oh, I guess I could have moved the king as well. But, okay, I've now set these pawns off on a wild, wild journey by themselves. We'll see if they take my king this time. They do, and with that, we do lose that game. I'm honestly going to skip past the drawback because it doesn't really change all that much. Alright, the white pieces and a drawback of Alternator. You must alternate between pawn moves and non-pawn moves. Okay, I think I can do that. As far as the opening is concerned, that's really not an issue. I guess I would eventually have to make some awkward pawn moves on the sides, which will be a little bit strange, but not totally out of what I might normally do. Have to move a pawn next. Okay, we'll play h3 to unlock the ability to move another piece next. This is really quite a terrible drawback, actually. Okay, we'll move here. On the next move, I'd have to move a pawn so I can take back, and if they take my queen, I'd have to move a non-pawn so I would be able to take back again. All right, I must move a pawn. I think I'm just going to take the chance to take. I don't want to leave too much tension on the board, because if the sequence of pawn to non-pawn doesn't fit my exact, or rather the exact tempo of the position, then the game is pretty much toast. Okay, they do move the queen back, so there's no way they know that our drawback is alternating between pawns and pieces. Otherwise, they would have known that that queen was safe. We'll develop the bishop next, pin the knight. This feels like a game that I'm either going to win on the opponent having a terrible drawback or on time, because it's going to be very difficult to simplify into a position where alternating between pawns, or rather pawns and non-pawns, somehow equals checkmating or capturing the opponent's king. We'll play pawn to b4 next. We'll try and play aggressively. Right, they castle out of the way. We'll play castles, I guess, because I must move a non-pawn piece. Ooh, a6 allows b5. Should they take, a non-pawn piece can in fact recapture, and we start to open up the king's side. Or rather, the king's side, even though he's on the queen side. Knight to d4, must move a pawn. We'll play a4 to defend the... No, the knight, if they take, I can't take back because that would be moving a pawn again. But they take here, which is even worse. Oh my goodness. That's even worse. Okay, we'll move the king out of the way, and if somehow we don't manage to win their king in like 2 more moves, we might be getting dragged through the mud here. Okay, for some reason, they don't take our queen, so maybe we do have fighting chances. Okay, must move a non-pawn. Of course, I'm going to move here, and if I somehow get that king trapped or checkmated, that would be an enormous victory. Right, must move a pawn on this turn. I would really rather not move a pawn here, but okay, c4. This is what I was talking about. It's going to be very difficult to string together a sequence of moves that really makes any sense here in terms of finishing off an attack, because you always have to intermittently throw in a pawn move, which is quite terrible. But they might be running out of time. They move the rook over, must move a pawn. c5 will just hang a pawn to try and force mate onto the board. But they flag anyways, giving us our 9th victory. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, your opponent's drawback was Winds of Fate. Every turn, you will randomly be unable to move either left or right. I feel pretty bad for the opponent. Apparently, our drawback was significantly harder, but I would argue that the randomness of not knowing if you can move left or right is quite awful. But with that, we do have 9 victories under our belt. We just need 1 more victory. All right, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is Eat Your Veggies. You can't capture non-pawns until your opponent only has 4 pawns remaining. So I really want to get pawn trades on the board ASAP. The more pawn trades I can get onto the board, the sooner they will only have 4 pawns. The sooner, basically, my drawback disappears, right? At that point, I have nothing to worry about. So we do get this first pawn trade. I'm kind of hoping that they'll maybe start pushing some more pawns so I don't have to look like a total cuckoo moving these lateral pawns. Oh, the thing is, though, if I do offer a central pawn trade, eventually that could lead to a queen trade, and I can never take back a queen, nor can I capture a queen. Ooh, that's pretty bad. Okay, we'll just keep developing normally and hope that we don't get any sort of confrontation in the middle of the board. We'll defend a knight. If they ever take, I'm toast, because I can only capture pawns. No, let me be. Oh goodness, is there anything I can do about that? There's literally nothing I can do, is there? Okay, we'll just start pushing some random pawns. If I can get a queen trade, or rather a pawn trade on the side of the board, that would be amazing. They move back. I don't think they realize they can just keep taking, and there's nothing I can do. So they're just going to run with their spoils. I will take another pawn. The sooner I can get them down to 4 pawns, the sooner I can play a normal game of chess, even if I have a disadvantage of some kind, a material disadvantage that is. And the opponent has to keep playing with their drawback, hopefully. Okay, I've pre-moved a3 because, to be frank, I thought they were going to take back. They seem to ignore, so I will take on g2 instead. And I just have to get rid of 1 more sneaky pawn. Maybe I can just like get this recapture. And then it's, yes, and then it's totally normal chess from here on out for me, but not for my opponent. We do get knight to e5. Okay, I'm playing normal chess, the opponent is not. That is, I think, critical to keep in mind. Let's start with check. I feel like putting your opponent in check and drawback chess is almost always a good idea. They block. Oh, that's defended! But maybe they can't take back. They take back instantly. That was so bad. I'm playing wow, I was playing better when I had the drawback. Interesting. Okay, I can take that for certain. Okay, it's move 17, so their drawback cannot be the, on move 11, whatever. Oh, but they haven't moved their king, which I think is interesting, so I'll put him in check again. c3, perhaps? No, the king just moves out of the way. Okay, we'll move the rook out of the way as well. We are down a piece. But in drawback chess, I really don't think that means all that much. I can always stuff the king back into this corner. Again, I'm playing a normal game of chess. I have to completely remember this. I'm playing a totally normal game of chess, so even just playing super normal moves and forcing the opponent to reckon with whatever their drawback could possibly be should be good, should be advantageous. We'll advance this rook. We are hanging this pawn. We'll see if they take, they don't. They move a bishop instead. We'll shuffle the rook over, doubling it up on the c-file, targeting c2. Pawn is still hanging, but they advance c4 instead. I'll defend my pawn. Maybe they just can't move on the flanks or something. I mean, they've had pieces on the flanks, though, so that wouldn't make sense. That's a free bishop. And they are down to 5 seconds. I'm infinitely curious to know what their drawback could possibly be. We'll play here and target the pawn. Maybe they always have to move closer to my king. No idea. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board, but with that, we do get all 10 victories. All right, you won. Your opponent ran out of time. Your opponent's drawback was outflanked. Except for capturing kings, you can't capture on the rim. Okay, I was close. It did have to do with the flank of the board, and that's why they couldn't capture on h7, but it really wasn't that bad of a drawback, I don't think. Anyways, with that, we do win all 10 games. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know if there are any other challenges besides just brute forcing my way through 10 games that I should try. Let me know if I should maybe go back to not knowing what my own drawback is, or maybe I should play drawback with like obscenely longer time controls, like maybe 10-0, and I only try to win 1 game, so I have time to hyperfixate on how to defeat my specific drawback. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.